In this video, I'm going to be talking about the hidden teachings of Jesus that pertain to prayer, manifestation, and attraction. Now, to begin, I want to start off in the Gospel of Thomas, saying 106. In the Gospel of Thomas, saying 106, Jesus says something like this. He says, when you make the two into one, then you will become children of humanity, and you can speak to the mountain, tell it to move, and it will go. And then in saying 48, Jesus says something very similar. He says, when two make peace in one house, then they can speak to the mountain, tell it to move, and it will go. So in these two sayings, Jesus is pretty much saying the same thing, but just in different ways. And we see this sequence of the two becoming one, and when this happens, then we can speak to the mountain, and the mountain will move. Now, obviously, Jesus in these sayings, and if you're familiar with the canonical Gospels and the teachings of Jesus, what you know is that Jesus is always using metaphor and hyperbole and symbolism and parable to illustrate his points. And that's exactly what he's doing in these two sayings in the Gospel of Thomas. Now, what's interesting is this. The line that we find at the end of both of these sayings in the Gospel of Thomas has to do with speaking to a mountain, telling it to move, and it moving. Now, Jesus is not talking about a literal mountain here. He's speaking metaphorically to talk about what? To talk about these things in our lives that prevent us from experiencing our desired reality. It's the mountains in our own lives. And what Jesus is saying is that whatever this whole thing about the two becoming one is, if we can experience this oneness, if we can go from the two into the one, then whatever it is that is preventing us from experiencing our prayers fulfilled or whatever it is we're desiring will be removed and we will experience it. So let's take that last line in those two sayings about the mountain and let's think about it for a second. If you're familiar with the canonical Gospels, this saying about the mountain will be very familiar to you because we read about it. And it's found in the earliest canonical gospel, in the Gospel of Mark, in Mark chapter 11. And so what Jesus says in Mark chapter 11 is the same thing about the mountain. And this is verse 23, I believe. He says something about the context of this passage has to do with prayer and faith, but he says this same saying about the mountain. And then the very next verse, this is Mark 11:24, Jesus says, therefore, after he says you can speak to the mountain, tell it to move, and it will move, Jesus says, therefore, whatever you ask for in prayer, believe you have received it, and then it will be yours. And so Jesus is connecting this saying with the mountain with what he says in verse 24 about when you pray for something, believe it's already done. Now, what is this? This is the law of assumption. This is the practice of assuming the feeling of whatever it is that you're praying for as if it's already done. And when this happens, there is a transformation that happens in the external reality, Jesus says, and then it will be yours, and then you will have it. And so going back to the Gospel of Thomas, when Jesus says you must make the two into one, I believe what he's talking about is going from separation consciousness to unity consciousness in the realm of prayer. And so if you think about it, the way most people pray is from separation consciousness. It's from this mindset of I'm praying to a distant deity who is up there somewhere, like up in the heavens, up in the sky, and I'm asking him to do something for me down here on earth. I'm asking him to bless me. I'm asking him to heal me. I'm asking him to send down his favor and his glory or whatever it is, right? But there's separation going on, and we are praying for something. We're praying to a deity. We're praying to God somewhere up there in the heavens, up there in the sky. But this is not how Jesus is teaching us to pray. What Jesus is saying is you have to go from this separation consciousness to this unity consciousness. And so the mindset is I don't have whatever it is that I'm praying for. That's why I'm praying for it. But if you shift from separation consciousness to unity consciousness, that shift is the realization, or it's this awakening that, okay, although my five senses aren't perceiving it right now, what if I shifted into the feeling, into the assumption that I already have whatever it is that I'm wanting to experience in my external reality? What if I make that shift and I close the gap between the separation and I feel as if it's already done? What would happen? Well, Jesus says that if we do this, then we will have it. Then we will experience whatever it is we're wanting to experience. Then the prayer will be fulfilled. And so the two becoming one is separation consciousness into unity consciousness. But another way of saying it is it's the conscious mind becoming one with the subconscious mind. And the reason this is important is because the way manifestation works is we have to understand that our outer world is a reflection of our inner world. And so there's that old saying, as within, so without. And so the universe is a mirror. It's reflecting whatever it is. It's reflecting our state of being. And so in life, you don't get what you want, you get what you are being. And so that is why the feeling, embodying whatever it is we're wanting to desire, is so important, because what we are doing is we are telling the subconscious mind, we are reprogramming the subconscious mind. And when this happens, then this is when the process of manifestation starts. Because whenever we have a prayer or something that we're wanting to experience, something that we're wanting to manifest, this starts with a thought or maybe some kind of a wish that is going on in the conscious mind. And from the conscious mind, we pray. From the conscious mind, we have all these affirmations. From the conscious mind, we try to convince God to work on our behalf. But we can do all this stuff in the conscious mind. If the subconscious mind is not in alignment with whatever it is we're saying or doing or praying in the conscious mind, then the manifestation will never occur. And so how do we merge? How do we make the conscious mind and the subconscious mind one, like Jesus is saying, making the two into one, going from separation consciousness to unity consciousness? What is the key? How do we do this? The key is found in Mark 11:24. It's believing that you already have it. It's the law of assumption that Neville Goddard talked about. And the key with this, you can't just believe you already have it from the conscious mind. It's not something that's going on in the conscious mind. This belief is a subconscious belief. And so, but the thing with this is, although it's a subconscious belief, the thing that merges a subconscious belief with some kind of desire or some kind of thought in the conscious mind is feeling. When we feel as though it's already done, when we feel as though it's complete and we're living from the end, then we're closing the gap on time. We're actually transcending time, because time is not something that is absolute. Time is relative, and time is really just a mental construct that we need here on this planet. But ultimately, our perception of time, this linear function of time of past, present, and future, is not ultimate reality. And if we go beyond time, we enter into the realm of timelessness. And we realize that the only thing that actually exists is this present moment, this eternal now moment. The past is just a thought or a memory that's occurring right now. And the future is just a thought or an anticipation that is occurring right now. But when we get to the future, it's going to be the now. That the future time, the future expectation or anticipation that we're thinking about right now, let's say it's something that we have planned tomorrow. When we get to that future event tomorrow, it will be the now, because the now is all that exists. And that's why they call it the eternal now. And so we transcend time, we realize that everything is happening simultaneously, or everything is happening in this mystical way, all in this one eternal now moment. So that's what we're doing. When we're assuming that it's already done, we're transcending time, we're going beyond our five senses, we're going beyond the analytical mind, and we're awakening to this reality of oneness. And we are assuming, we are experiencing whatever it is we're praying for as if it's already a done deal, as though it's already happened. And when we do this, this is very important. When we start to feel, when we start to embody, when we start to be the version of ourselves that we want to experience in the future, what happens is that the subconscious mind starts to accept it, because the subconscious mind can't tell the difference. When we feel it, when we embody it, the subconscious mind starts to believe that this is actually a reality in our external world. And so when the subconscious mind accepts the feeling that we are creating in the conscious mind, it starts with the conscious mind. Okay, that's where the feeling starts. That's where the belief starts. And as we embody it, as our state of being starts to increase, and as our vibration increases, then the subconscious mind accepts it. And when the subconscious mind accepts it, that is when the transformation happens. That is when our outer world really starts to reflect whatever it is we're desiring, whatever it is we're wanting to experience. That is when the manifestation starts to become expressed. So, what is the secret? What is the key of making the two into one? Making the conscious mind and the subconscious mind in alignment? The secret, the key, is feeling as though it's already done. It is the law of assumption. Although it doesn't seem that way through your five senses, although your five senses are telling you that whatever it is you're wanting to experience is not currently being experienced, it's not something in your external reality that you can sense, you go beyond that, you transcend that. And through the power of consciousness, you start to embody, you start to feel as though it's already done. You believe that you have it already. And again, this belief is not just a conscious belief, it's a subconscious belief. It's something that is deep within you. And when this happens, this is when the transformation starts to take place, and it leads to an external manifestation. And I believe that this is how Jesus was actually teaching us how to pray in the Gospel of Thomas and even in the canonical Gospels. But like I was saying, I think in the Gospel of Thomas, we don't really find the secret of how we merge the two into one. Jesus talks about this in multiple places, that this is what we have to do. We have to go from separation consciousness to unity consciousness. But he doesn't reveal the secret. He doesn't say the key until we get to the Gospel of Mark. And like I said, in Mark 11:24. And it's the same context, because we have this same saying about the mountain moving, like we find in Mark 11. We find that in those two places that I mentioned in the Gospel of Thomas. And so what we don't have in the Gospel of Thomas is the very next line after Jesus talks about the mountain moving, where he says, when you pray for something, believe you already have it, and it will be yours. So that is the key. That is the secret. It's feeling as though it's already done. And so there are many different things that we can do to help us assume the feeling as though it's already done. And I think one of the best things that has helped me is meditation. And so when we're meditating, the whole point of meditation is to be fully absorbed in the present moment. You're transcending the analytical thinking mind, and you're experiencing the eternal now. And so what you'll notice about the thinking mind is that almost all the thoughts that come from the thinking mind have to do with the past or the future. But if we transcend the thinking mind and we start to enter into our heart space, we go from our head space to our heart space, and we start to be absorbed in the present moment. What we find is that there is a peace that surpasses all understanding in that place. And the conscious mind starts to kind of slow down. So the constant mental chatter that many of us experience all throughout the day starts to become quiet. And we enter into this sacred stillness. And in this place, this is when we start to enter into the theta brainwave state. In this place, this is the best opportunity we have to reprogram our subconscious minds and to start to visualize and to start to feel as though whatever it is we're praying for is already done. Because when we're in theta and we start to feel it, we start to envision it, then the subconscious acceptance happens a lot quicker and it's a lot more efficient. And so as we're going to sleep at night, we enter into theta for a few minutes as we're drifting off into sleep, and we also experience it when we're waking up. And so that's why I think the best time to meditate is either right before you go to sleep or first thing in the morning. And so during your meditation, as you are in theta, as you are starting to go from the head space to the heart space, and you start to visualize and you start to feel as though whatever it is you're wanting to experience is already done, this is going to accelerate the process. Just being in theta, just being in that heart space is going to make it a lot easier. And it's going to allow for like I said, it's going to allow for the subconscious acceptance to happen a lot quicker and a lot more efficiently. And so this is what I think Jesus was really talking about. And this is something, like I said, that we don't hear a lot, especially in church, especially in mainstream Christianity, but it's there. It's in the teachings of Jesus. And if we can really learn how to make the conscious and the subconscious mind one, which, by the way, let me say this too. The conscious mind and the subconscious mind are actually one. Although they have different functions and we have different names for them, they're not separate. And so merging the two into one is more of a realization. It's not like, okay, the conscious mind's over here and the subconscious mind's over here, and we have to literally make them into one. No, they're already one. But it's more about us realizing that and experiencing that as one and in alignment. That's when the manifestation starts. That's when the process of manifestation starts to take place. So that's just something to keep in mind. But anyways, this is what I think Jesus was actually talking about. This is what I think he was trying to teach us about prayer. And like I said in the beginning of this video, if we can start to practice this and apply it to our lives, we will experience transformation. We will experience our desires manifested in our external reality, and we will experience joy and peace beyond measure. If you found this video helpful, informative, or insightful, please leave a thumbs up at the bottom of the screen and be sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Also, if you're interested in supporting this channel, the best way to do so is through Patreon, and I'll put the link for that in the description below. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.